What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up, good people? Straight to the point, sports and entertainment. Please hit the like button, sub to the channel if you're not a member. Also hit the notifications so that you're able to get all of my content as well as all of my videos. I do want to give a shout out to the whole entire Lions Den, both basketball and as well as boxing communities. In this case, we are talking hoops. I also want to give a shout out to all of my subs that's been rocking with me. Both my new subs and of course my day ones. 10 toes down as always. It was an exciting day. Well, for some it was somewhat exciting. What's up, Sugar Sweet? Sweetie, I see you in here. It was somewhat exciting, because now you have some series actually. Some people thought that it was gonna be 3-1 with the Clippers and with the Mavs. What's up with it, Ted? But it didn't go that route. That's not what we're here to talk about though. Okay. And I know I'm going late. Having a little late live, you know what I'm saying? But I'm doing this because I just thought about something. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, man, I like Paul George. I happen to like Paul George very, very much, man. Especially before he had that devastating injury. The reason why I bring that up though is because a lot of people don't understand how much potential was stored in Paul George before that devastating injury had taken place. I ain't gonna lie, I've been critical of Paul George, and the reason why I have this title, Imagine, when it comes to Paul George and Harden, is because for both of these players, could you imagine if their careers would have taken a different turn, and could you imagine if they played how they played every single playoffs to be successful like this, showing that they don't need Kawhi Leonard. No Kawhi, no problem. You understand what I mean? Now, to put some perspective on things, when I looked at Harden, when he initially came out of OKC, right? Harden, I actually liked Harden's game when he was at OKC because he was a six man coming off the bench, offense if you needed it. But what do you know about James Harden that a lot of people don't really tell you? James Harden was a defender. When he first came into the league, coming from Arizona State, he was known for his defense. Coming off that bench in OKC with Westbrook and KD, he was known for his defense. A lot of people don't like to talk about that. And see, that's the Harden that I like. He was green. He was green. He didn't know what the NBA was going to make him like into, the savage, not a savage in terms of killing people on the court, but a savage in terms of destroying teams like he does. Right? The poor work habits, him coming in there, pouting, complaining, him up in there playing the style that he played, which I didn't. A lot of people like that style, him drawing fouls and stuff like that, but a lot of people didn't really like that because if we're going to sit up here and we're going to call Carmelo Anthony a ball stopper, which is what George Karl called Carmelo Anthony, you have to call Harden the same thing, dribbling the air out of the ball. He had the most dribbles in one possession. I forgot. It was some outrageous number of how many times he dribbled the ball. Now it doesn't take anything away from his skills, but at the same time, it hasn't gotten him nowhere. But I'm saying, imagine if he did what he did tonight, putting up 33, not having to worry about it. And then on top of that, that game one without Kawhi. Imagine, and see, I think it's because he likes to have control. That's what I think it is. What's up with it, Be More Legend? I see you in the building, brother. Shout out to the whole DMV. You said Harden, yeah, he was on full display, but yeah, that's what a lot of people don't realize. You know, Harden was a Swiss Army knife, but with more offensive game. He was like a you know, I'm not saying he was a defensive, you know, like a defensive juggernaut as a Pascal Siakam, but he was a guy that could do everything off the bench in OKC. If you go back and you go look at them OKC days, Harden did what was necessary for the team, but then when he got to Houston, somehow he you know, he got full of himself. The only time that you could really say that he somewhat was trying to come back to that Harden that he used to be somewhat is when Kevin McHale had taken over those years. And Kevin McHale actually was a good coach for him, but ended up leaving Houston. And we all know what happened there. Now we're okay. Paul George to me was a Tracy McGrady with a better defense. Okay. And he had a better shooting percentage than Tracy McGrady. Paul George was also one of the premier two-way players in the league. Okay, just like Harden, he was a hawk on defense. That's something that gets forgotten because, you know, of course, he studied Kobe, but he said he also had an appreciation for T-Mac too as well. You could see it in his game. So that's why I say imagine a lot of things when it comes to Paul George and when it comes to James Harden, particularly Paul George, because Paul George he had the athleticism. You know what I'm saying? People forget that, you know, what type of potential he had of beating LeBron in that series, you know, when it came to Indiana. And when he was in Indiana, what's his name? Danny Granger was an afterthought. Remember, Danny Granger was supposed to be the guy in Indiana. Paul George came in and took over. Yeah, they had a big three in early development, like a Jamal Crawford. Nah, I ain't gonna go, man. Nah, I ain't gonna compare him to no Jamal Crawford, man. Nah, he didn't really, and see, when he was there, he didn't really even dribble that much. He didn't dribble that much. And both of them have that LA game. You know what I'm saying? Because they are from LA. They both from the from LA. You know what I'm saying? And they both know each other. But I mean, with Paul George, okay, it was like after that injury, all right, I didn't think he was going to walk again. I didn't think he was going to much less be able to jump again doing the stuff that he was doing. Now, I don't get on, I know, like, you know, within the LDBC, we get on, we give everybody the smoke no matter what. I scale back from Paul George because his injury was so traumatic. It was up there with the Kevin Ware. It was up there with the Sean Livingston. Gordon Hayward. You see, Gordon Hayward hasn't been the same. But Paul George has actually been in competitive Bargain. Paul George has been in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, he's been in the conference finals. That's what we have to understand. And so when I sit back and I look at those sort of things, I'm saying to myself, I'm like, man, could you imagine if they played like this all the time? They're superstars in their own right. They are superstars in their own right. And see, James Harden, like you said, Be More Legend, he wasn't focused on, he was focused on getting MVPs and individual accolades and scoring and all this other stuff. You could tell that he was all about, his numbers and stuff like that. He wasn't really truly competing for championship. But I think now he sees the light. He's starting to see, the end is near. He don't have that much time. See, and I know I disagree with people that sit up here and say that Paul George is trash and all this other stuff. Nah, Paul George ain't trash. As a matter of fact, I happen to think that Paul George actually does want to compete, but he gets hurt at the wrong time, just like what was happening with Kawhi. But it's like, damn, he came out of nowhere. 33 apiece today. You look at something like that and you're like, damn. Man, what if they were to do this over the course of their career, over the course of their 10 plus years being in the league? And that's what I look at. You know what I'm saying? You'd be a fool not to look at something like that. And for anybody that sits up here, when you looked at the Sean Livingstons and you looked at the Gordon Haywards and stuff, they clearly want the same. Now Sean Livingston, of course, he made a living being a decent role player coming off the bench with Golden State, and was able to notch a championship under his belt. But he wasn't the same Sean Livingston that was a McDonald's All-American and coming out of the draft and stuff like that, because I think Sean Livingston had came straight out of high school, if I'm not mistaken. He came straight out of high school too. So I look at that sort of thing, man, and I'm looking at Paul George, man. What could have been? Because if he'd have put up numbers like this, and it's not to say that he wasn't, but when he was with Indiana, if that injury wouldn't have happened, I think Paul George would have, if he would have gotten in the right situation, he probably would have been able to compete for a championship. Now I'm not gonna go push. I don't want people putting things out of context and saying that he would have had a ring or nothing like that. But I think he would have either probably had one or been damn near close to it if that injury wouldn't have taken place with him. And that's my personal opinion. And then with Harden, if let's say if he wouldn't have left OKC, or if he did leave OKC, but he kept playing the same style that he did and had the work ethic that he did, could you imagine how successful he would have been? Because he was already in the finals. He'd been to the conference finals. You know what I'm saying? And he playing in the playoffs year after year, but won't never successful. You know what I'm saying? Like if he'd have just focused on the bigger picture, they probably Harden would have been more successful than what he is right now. You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of people think that I'm real critical of Harden. I am, because with that gift that you have and all those chances that you constantly got, man, you out your mind, man. Like that's somebody else that's waiting to take your spot. And see now you're starting to see a shift. Um, Shout out to the good brother Crunch Time. I think he said that. Go sub to his channel. He was talking about the shift, and I know that ESPN and all them guys, they took his talking points and all that other stuff. But you're starting to see a shift now where these young guys are way more mature in terms of what their mindset is than what the older guys are. You know what I'm saying? Like Ant-Man, he ready to kick ass and take names. Okay, like Shea Gilchrist Alexander, he ready to kick ass and take names. Um, Jokic is doing that. Jamal Murray is doing that. Even though Joker done been in the league for now going on I think 8 years now. No, Jokic came in 2012. Was it 2012 he came? I think he came in 2012. He been in the league 12 years now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but either way, if because you said D Rose was like that. Yeah, ready. Yeah, unfortunately, his injury, man, and see that was the thing. The only thing that you could criticize about D Rose was the fact that he had poor eating habits. That was probably the only thing that was going on with D Rose. Was his eating habits, and it's been documented. I mean, the dude loved McDonald's. He loved to eat candy, all that junk food and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, you really didn't have any. Well, you had some criticism about him. I mean, of course, the whole little ransom thing, and then of course, his ties to game banging and all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, he just stayed quiet and was there to kick ass and take names. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do too much talking. He was just ready to just come up in there, man, and bang on your ass. Man, I still think about when he cocked it back on Gordon Dragic. You know what I'm saying? I think about stuff like that. But, it's like with D Rose, like what you said, Ted, what could have been if he wouldn't have had those, injuries after injury after injury. You know what I'm saying? But we all know what it was with D Rose. He wasn't taught how to land properly. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the first things that they teach you when you go to them camps and stuff. They teach you how to land. Because if you don't know how to land properly, man, you could end up ending your career, really ending your livelihood. You'll never be able to walk the same, do any of that stuff. So I always think about that, man. I was like, man, when that injury happened, and especially when I talk about Paul George, like between that and Gordon Hayward, those are the worst injuries that I've ever seen. And I'm like, dang, man, they even lucky to be walking again. So sometimes, man, when they real critical of Paul George, I think some people forget, man, how devastating that injury was, man. You know what I'm saying? That's why, like, when it comes to him or like with Dak Prescott and that injury that he suffered and everything like that, I'm like, damn. I mean, this motherfucker still was able to lead Dallas back to the playoffs and stuff like that off that injury that he had. You know what I'm saying? You see Odell Beckham, him and Odell Beckham have had the same type of injury. Yeah, horrific injuries. And look, I don't even like talking about it. You know what I'm saying? But I have to bring it up to put context because some people, they sit up there and they be like, oh man, Paul George is trash and all this other stuff or whatever. Okay, I scale back on Paul George a little bit, but with James Harden ain't had no significant injury like that. James Harden ain't been kept out for a lengthy time like that. You know what I'm saying? He probably had some other injuries or whatever, like with the issue with Brooklyn and all that other stuff. But other than that, man, he ain't had no major injuries like that to where it could set him back. All his thing was laziness, work habits, off the court issues, personality issues, and being a damn diva. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. That's the one I'm talking about. That's pretty much the only one. That's the one that, okay, when that's what I was saying. If he had not suffered that injury at the Olympics, then we probably wouldn't be as critical of Paul George as we are now. And plus, they had that team that they had when you talk about when they had David West and um they had Lance Stevenson. You know what I'm saying? They had George Hill, and they had Paul George. They had a squad, man. I think George Hill was on that team, right? George Hill was on there, right? Just correct me if I'm wrong, because I just remember. I think I remember George Hill playing for. I remember him playing for the Spurs. I remember him playing for the Bucks, and I remember him playing for Indiana. Just correct me if I'm wrong, but I think George Hill was on that squad. They had a squad, man. They had a squad, and they were very competitive too. They had LeBron shitting bricks because he was pretty much running through the East all the time, but they was a force to be reckoned with. But yeah, I just sit back and I think about that, man, and I know it's just one game. I know um a lot of people they not so hyped about the Clippers and all that other stuff for whatever reason. I don't understand the hate towards the Clippers, me myself personally. Now, if you're a Lakers fan, I understand that. You know what I'm saying? But if if you like outside of the Lakers or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I don't understand any type of hate that anybody has for the Clippers. You know what I'm saying? Maybe with the exception of every year it's the same old thing. But in terms of their talent, man, they actually a fun team to watch. Even going back to the Darius Miles and Quentin Richardson days, and Lamar Odom and all that, and Elton Brand. They was actually a fun team to watch. And then you had that era with Lob City, So, but the reason why I bring that up is because I looked at it today. Kawhi, he's having his issues or whatever. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people think that he ducking smoke. You know what I'm saying? He ducking the Lucas smoke. Me, myself personally, I don't think that he is. Um, and some people be like, yeah, he could have played or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But he did try to give it a go. But I sat back and I thought about it. And I'm like, well, he did play, but he clearly was not the same. There were several Clippers fans saying that, man, this guy ain't the same. This guy, well, he's not. He doesn't look like himself. So yeah, man, I was just sitting back, man, thinking about that, man. I really feel that when it comes to Paul George and it comes to guys like James Harden, you sit back and you think about, man, what really could have been. Because to be honest with you, if James Harden wasn't really as selfish as he was and wasn't being the diva that he was, there would be a lot more teams that would be going after James Harden. From from a standpoint of not only the marketability, because people still do enjoy watching James Harden, you know what I'm saying? But James Harden, man, he be shooting himself in the foot a lot of times. You know what I'm saying? Coming in overweight, throwing balls at teammates and stuff. Houston did everything that they could. That man, Houston gave you everything. And now I think he's looking at it from a standpoint of, okay, well, shit, man, I gotta humble myself. I don't, the writing, the writing is in, man. This is the last days of your chapter. This is the last days of your book, man. You on the last chapter of your career. You know what I'm saying? And I think he sees that. Now, as far as Paul George, maybe he sees that. I still see Paul George playing maybe about at a high level. I probably give Paul George maybe 4 more years, about 4 or 5 more years, maybe that's kind of pushing it. I'm being generous when I say that. I'm being generous when I say that. Um, the reason why I say 4 years, that's if he doesn't get in any type of, no type of injuries or anything like that. What do y'all see? Y'all see about what? How long do y'all see Paul George and James Harden playing? I think I give James Harden maybe about. I'll probably give him about 3 more years, and I'm talking about at a high level. I don't really see them guys playing like a very long time. Like LeBron and guys like that. I don't see them playing like a long time. I guess everybody done left, but no, I give them maybe about 4 more years, man. Harden 3, and Paul George. I give Paul George about 4 more years. You know what I'm saying? But nah, man. Other than that, man, I just wanted to talk to y'all for a minute, man. Make sure y'all like the video, share it, also subscribe, hit them notifications too. Uh, Straight to the point, sports and entertainment, man. I'll get at y'all later.